They shall wait no longer. We're going to be talking about That's what it'll be, yeah.
No.
Before
we
you know
got to
it.
focus on that. Let's get our money back.
We got
Absolutely.
Chris Long with us here, Ohio Christian
Absolutely.
Alliance. Good to see you here tonight. So, all right, we've got everything we want to know about the gas tax, but we're afraid to ask. But we're going to ask anyhow. How much money are we getting back? That's the first question. That's the first question I have for you right now. How much of this cash is coming back to us? Give us the good news, will you? And how are you tonight, too? How are you tonight?
I'm
Ohio
fine.
Christian Alliance, and you guys are a great activist group out there, and it's great to have you on the show tonight. So,
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it, and always happy to come on with Ohio political news. And you guys are making news all the time with a variety of topics and guests that you've had on over the last year or so. And
you know how long we've been doing this, Chris? You know how long we've been doing this?
How long?
3.5 years.
No kidding.
3.5 years. I've been having to put up with this guy and this guy and this guy. Oh, wait, that's me. 3.5 years we've been doing. What do you mean a year? Give us.
Time flies when you're having fun.
3.5 years.
Congratulations,
Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I think I came on with you maybe a year and a half or so ago. It may have been inside of 2 years ago when I first came on your podcast. But what I'm saying is in the last year and a half, you really upped your game. I mean, you went from a starter group, really a podcast, to where a lot of your videos have gone viral on social media. Anyone who goes to the page and then looks at the reels can see that a lot of volume of views have been with Ohio Political News. And I've noticed, Joe, that you've been on more in the mornings. You've kind of taken on some of the weekly issues. It used to be just a Sunday night or weekend edition.
Just a Sunday night. Let me just toot my own horn real quick, and then we'll get to the gas tax. But the thing is, every morning now, I've been doing about 15, 20-minute podcast. I did one this morning as well. You know, sometimes they get a lot of hits, sometimes not so much. But we're just trying to get that algorithm going, more content. You know, so at least 5 things a week now instead of just the Sunday night. But it's making a big difference. All right, so let's figure this out. Let's figure this thing out right now. Okay, so what is up with the cutting the gas tax? What is that all about, Chris?
Well, I can't claim, ownership of this. It first started with the We the People convention. Tom Zawistowski sent out a message about a month ago and was urging the legislature before they recessed to suspend the gas tax of 38.5 cents a gallon for 5 months because $1.2 billion in excess tax has been collected by the state. Now, this is confirmed by the state treasurer, by the way, who I spoke to on the phone on Friday. So we really have some good news for people here tonight. First of all, the money is there. So when people say, well, we need that for roads and bridges and stuff. Well, by the way, there's only been a few people have been saying that. And guess what, folks? That's already paid. This is far and above all of that. This doesn't cut into the transportation budget at all, or any budget. This is excess money that's been collected, your money and my money, that they have collected. And actually, we're going to get reckoning here on June 30th this week. It may be as much as $1.6 billion. So if you were to suspend the gas tax today of 38.5 cents a gallon, and then spend that 1.2 billion, that would carry you out 5 months. 1.6 would carry you out even further. Now, what would that do? I mean, first of all, it would stimulate the economy of Ohio. It would be a great way to celebrate the 4th of July. That's why we're calling for them to come back this coming week before the 4th to pass this in a special session. And by the way, there's some news on that front because Ohio made national news again last week with Governor DeWine vetoing that elections bill of requiring photo ID for mail-in ballots, which was wildly popular, and that man went viral in the conservative realm. They found out what we all know about Governor DeWine, what a problem he is, and I couldn't believe how it went viral on X and all the social media platforms were calling him out right at the time that Congress is pushing to get the Save America Act passed, okay, which would include provisions that bill was. And so they may just indeed come back. Now, Matt Huffman doesn't want to come back. Get this, folks. The arrogance of this man. He wants to, and I don't want to go too far here because it gets my blood up.
Now, wait one second. Now, Matt Huffman, just so people know, because a lot of people aren't as in tune as we are, he is the Speaker of the Ohio House. He's
that is
the Speaker
correct.
of the state reps. We've got 99 state reps, so he is the kingpin of the state reps. But go ahead. What did he say then?
He is the Speaker, the Republican Speaker of the Ohio House. And he's the one that has recessed them until after the election. Well, listen. A lot of representatives are upset about that, both in the House and Senate. And by the way, I've talked to key leadership that are not the leadership of Rob McCauley and Matt Huffman. But by the way, Senator George Lang, said, I'm going to call right now Senator Ranke. He's going to be the incoming Senate president in the next session. And he said, let me talk to him. So there are state senators and state representatives who I've talked to are absolutely in favor of this, a majority. This wouldn't even need the governor's signature. He's already said, well, I'm not for that. Well, we don't need your signature. It would pass beyond 60 votes in the House and the supermajority in the Senate, and it would become law without the governor's signature. What would it do? Well, it would take 38.5 cents a gallon out at the pump for you. It'd put real money in people's pockets immediately. It will stimulate the Ohio economy. It's a great way to celebrate the 250th birthday of our nation. And get this, it will drive commerce into Ohio as people will travel to Ohio to get cheap gas. And while they're here, they will spend money in restaurants, parks, and entertainment. The legislators agree with this. Republicans always say, let's cut tax and let's watch the economy grow. Well, let's go ahead and give people back their money that was collected in excess. Not your money, Matt Huffman, and leadership in the Senate. This is the people of Ohio's money. Let's give it back to them at the pump. Now, understand something. People say, well, there's been a resolve of the war with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz is open. I know there's been some shooting over the weekend. We don't anticipate that continuing. However, right after President Trump came up with an agreement with the Iranians in a memo of understanding, that was a week ago Sunday, the Monday following, the ExxonMobil CEO stated, listen, our strategic reserves as an industry worldwide were just about depleted. Gas prices were about to go up to $6 and $7 and $8 a gallon because we were depleted. Wow. So the opening of the strait came just in the nick of time. And listen to this. He said it's going to take at least 2 months to resupply the chain. So when you say, well, why aren't these presidents coming down? Did you hear President Trump this week? He went on a tirade. He said, you executives, you oil executives, and you're gouging the people. Listen. And he said, we're going to put the Justice Department on you. I appreciate what the president's trying to say. However, they can investigate all they want. They're not going to sell gas at cheap and lose money. They bought the price of a barrel of oil around $100 a barrel. Now that it's fallen to $70 or less, that's still not in the pipeline. What they have in reserves, what they refined, was at the higher dollar amount. And so that's why we're still seeing prices just a little bit below $4 a gallon in most of the Akron area that I'm seeing. I know that there are some exceptions. I filled up at $3.70. I had to look for that. I think it was $3.80. If you pay by credit, if it's cash, it's 10 cents cheaper, which, by the way, tells you businesses want cash in the door and what they're needing cash. Okay, when you see that, when they're saying this much for credit, this much for cash, they want you to come in the store. They want you to spend more on all the other items in the store, and that's why they want to bring you in the building rather than you just pulling up, filling up, and leaving. And so, by the way, people are still struggling out there under Biden inflation. And so why are we so passionate about this? Because everyday folks don't get a break. We watch the fraud. Okay, fine, you're finding some people. And the first thing people ask me, but Chris, are they clawing back the money? Are they getting any of the money back? I have the same questions. Hey, Dr. Oz. Hey, J.D. Vance. Hey, FBI. Hey, Akash Patel. When you guys are arresting these people, are you getting any of the money back into the Treasury? Well, we'll have to wait and see on that. But the fact is, what can really help the everyday Ohioan right now is suspension of that gas tax. The money is there. The state treasurer said, Chris, I don't have the ability to do it, or I'd do it tomorrow. But the money's there. We can cut the check. But it takes Matt Huffman and it takes Rob McCauley to call the session cast the vote, and let's get her done.
Okay, so let's get an understanding here. So they, from what I understand, the budget itself exceeded by 1.5 billion, 1.6 billion, something around there, correct? So what you're saying here is, so let's take away the gas tax until they lose 1.6 billion in revenue, because it's owed to us anyhow. We gave them too much. So once that happens, then they can raise the price back up to where it's supposed to be. Now, they have to come back, you're saying June 30th, correct?
No.
No.
Right now, they're not scheduled to come back at all. They were going to come back a week ago Wednesday for a data center bill, but he called that off. You know why he called that off? Because the pressure was building about the suspension of the gas tax. They know that this is wildly popular.
Now let's stop on that for a second. Why do they now want to do it? And it's our money coming back to us. And I know I heard what DeWine said. DeWine was like, oh, well, we're not going to have money for roads, bridges, and everything's just going to deteriorate and fall apart, which is total BS. I know
that's
that.
Right.
That's total BS.
He's lying to you. He's lying to you.
He's lying to us. He's absolutely lying to us. But why don't they want to come back? Wouldn't this be goodwill on the part of the Republican Party, who needs to get the base excited about something? And so, okay, we drop your gas price 40 cents, boom, up until November when the midterms come. People are going to be like, man, this is awesome. And even if the gas prices tank, even if it goes down to $2 a gallon, who cares? Keep the 40 cents in there. I mean, we'd be 40 cents, 60 cents cheaper. PA is always higher than us with gas. PA is a horrible state when it comes to that gasoline tax. You're right. They'd be coming in from West Virginia, Kentucky, you name it, and stuff like that. All right. It's a good strategy. Why won't they do it? Fill me in on that. It doesn't make sense to me.
I wish I knew. Matt Huffman is a man who doesn't like to talk to everyday people. He doesn't like to talk to conservative leaders like myself. We have attempted to meet with this man on multiple occasions. I only met with him once when he was Senate president. It was at the end of his term. It's when he was trying to get some friends in line because he wanted to be the next speaker, and he didn't want any kerfuffles between there and the vote. And quite honestly, that's why he met with me and a small group of ministers. We wanted to meet with him for 2 years, and he wouldn't have any of it. So the same thing was with Tom Sawastowski. He said, Chris, he doesn't meet with any of us. So I really never have experienced this with leadership in the Ohio House and the Ohio Senate. In the 25 years I've been doing public policy, we've always been able to meet with leadership. We presented them with framed copies of the 10 Commandments over the years. We've had prayer with them. We're not like coming in with a list of agenda. Sometimes leadership's like, well, what do you guys want? And we didn't want anything.
Wait a minute. He's listening. He's listening to donors. He's listening to the people that are giving him money and everything like that. But you're saying somebody like you with a grassroots organization, he doesn't want to talk to you.
That's right. No.
Crazy.
And so, it's bad leadership, and quite honestly. So here's where some pressure may be building, okay? That pressure building is that this elections bill, now they're going to look badly if they don't go in and override that. And if they come back, we've got them. If they come back, they've got to do the suspension of the gas tax at the same time. By the way, this has already been shouted about in caucus, I'm told. Members have told me, said, Chris, this came up in caucus. We made a strong point for this. And then leadership wasn't having any of it. And there was like a few of the holdouts, for whatever reason, who knows why, didn't want to do it. So there has been a bill introduced by Representative Adams and Representative Matthews, I believe. And it's for half of the 38 cents. And I said, no, gentlemen, go back to the full amount of the 38.5 cents a gallon. Let's make it worth the people's while.
Right, exactly.
So I think they are considering doing that. So a bill has been introduced. But the fact is that this is our money. It's sitting there. They don't have the right to hold on to that money. They need to give it back to the people. And they can give it back to us, everybody, at the gas pump. I talked to a contractor at the gas pump last week. He was a tree service guy. He pulled in with his big rig, and he had his tow along. By the way, that's a dangerous and a hard job if you've ever done tree cutting and worked in the tree service. I have for a couple of days. I was exhausted. And so I talked to him, and I said, would it help you to get 38.5 cents a gallon or less? He said, absolutely. And I said, if I may ask, how much gas you guys spend a week? He said, we spend $1,000 a week with our main truck and with our equipment. And if we have to travel somewhat, we spend about $1,000 a week. Think what that would mean to that small businessman. Republicans are always saying we're for the small business guy. Well, let's get it done. Let's do it.
Yeah, well, it's so discouraging. Now, Governor DeWine opposed the suspending of the gas tax. He argued the tax is a user tax for roads, for bridges, construction, infrastructure, even the state highway patrol. DeWine warned that reducing the tax would mean fewer road and bridge projects, and it could hurt Ohio's infrastructure.
No, he's lying.
Oh, I know
he's literally lying. Because when the state treasurer says, Chris, this is far and above all those things have already been paid for. Right. So who's lying? The governor's lying.
They've all been paid for. They've all been paid for. The budget is already taken care of. They've been paid for. He's trying to pull the wool over our eyes. Let me go around the corner here. Brian, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm not shocked at all. I agree with one of our listeners that says that the government won't really cut anything. Remember that the two top priorities of government is to protect itself and to grow. I have yet to see anyone in Lake County, any taxing authority, actually give back money to the taxpayers. They just won't do it. It just seems like it's an anomaly for any government bureaucracy to give the money back to the people. And I agree completely with Chris and Tom Z that the money needs to be in the hands of the taxpayers so that we can keep the economy going, and that with the rising prices of everything, that would be a big help for everyone.
Yeah, it would be, because gasoline affects everything that we do, whether we're going to taking the kids to school or buying groceries or farming or construction or anything. I mean, the way it directly impacts us, the gasoline. So that's true there. Jonathan, how you doing, man?
Good. All right, so I saw a question pop up. If this is enacted, would it affect diesel? And the answer to that is yes. And if it does, I want to harken back to some numbers that I was made aware of easily a decade or more ago. It was ballparked nationally that every 10 cents a gallon more we pay for diesel has a roughly $1 billion impact on the American economy. So the more expensive diesel is, the more expensive goods and services are. That's because diesel is primarily used, outside of the virtue signaling few who have those battery-powered trucks, which are ridiculous. They're just trying to show off and send some virtue signaling. Every penny counts. And that's money that comes directly off the bottom line of businesses and corporations and drives up the cost of things. Everything you get, from the stuff that's shipped in on your grocery store shelves, you name it. Even the local grocery stores have to rely on diesel to some extent. But all the goods, especially manufactured overseas in places like China, they're using overwhelmingly diesel tankers to load the cargo ships, power the cargo ships, unload, and then ship them to you. So diesel is key in this. Thank you for that great question. When it comes to Huffman, my strong encouragement is we've got to replace Huffman as Speaker. We have to have a competent Speaker in Ohio if Ohio is to stop itself from turning into California. We're headed in that direction because we have a horrible dearth of strong constitutional conservatives within the Republican Party. Huffman, in my book, has done nothing, almost nothing good that I can find, and lots of bad stuff. He is key behind blocking things like the medical freedom initiatives. You name it, Matt Huffman is out there blocking the good and green-lighting the bad. We need a better speaker. One thing, there was a comment, just a few things I'm going to throw out here, and then we'll go back to Chris. There was a great comment about cash, and somebody posted that cash is desirable for businesses because that fee that businesses pay to credit card processors is like another tax, and that's absolutely true. It subtracts from the local business. So if you like that business where you're spending money, just know that every time you do a credit card transaction, The bad guys are getting a little bit of that, and the business gets a little bit less. But it goes further than that, and I'm a big advocate of cash. It gets into data mining, and we're starting to get into understanding what these AI data centers and the whole concept of state control of currency. That means centralized banking, digital currency, and all that stuff. If you're not following that, by the way, find me on Unwoke Academy. I talk a lot about that. But if you do away with cash and everything is digital, every transaction you make is recorded and logged by the state. So every time you're buying gas or you're buying chips or sodas or whatever, anything, it's all tracked. If you stick with cash, make cash a consistent currency, you avoid that. One last thing, and I think this may be, well, two key points. I'm hopeful that in Northeast Ohio, if we do this, that it puts a crushing blow on NOACA. That's Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency. Based out of Cleveland, they do terrible things to 5 counties, Lake, Geauga, Medina, Lorain, and Cuyahoga. They're a terrible, terrible top-down tyrannical entity, and they use gas tax dollars to manipulate and do bad things to those 5 counties. The last thing, though, is this whole notion that this money goes into a pot and they use that money to fix roads and bridges. I've arrived at the conclusion, just like in our education industrial complex, that our roads and bridges are effectively held hostage. We have roads and bridges that are kept and maintained in horrible, horrible condition so that we, the taxpayers, can be constantly fleeced. It works very much, in my book, based on the numbers that I've crunched and see, very much like education. The worse it is, the more these people can come back to us and say, well, we've only collected $60 billion. If only we had $75 billion, then maybe we might be able to fix that pothole. It's garbage. We need to get back to competent governance and holding people accountable. That's all I have to say on that. Back to Chris.
All right. Well, hang on one second, Chris. I do have something that a quote here from Matt Huffman. He is quoted as saying that he hadn't discussed the bill with his caucus, but suggested that any suspension would need a price-based trigger so the tax wouldn't snap back up as sharply as once the prices eventually drop. Does that make any sense to you? Have you heard of that before? A trigger, a price-based trigger? Or is that just a lot of BS saying, I don't want to deal with this whole thing. Let's just keep pushing it off.
The price is $1.6 billion. There it is. That's the trigger.
Well, here's the deal. So the fact that he's having to talk about it, that you saw where he had a quote, when was that quote? Was there a date on that?
Something with the State House News Bureau. I don't have the date, though.
So,
State House News Bureau hasn't quoted
so
saying.
Actually, that's kind of the first time we've heard him talking, so that tells you that calls and emails and messages are getting into the legislature. And by the way, folks, how to message your legislator on this issue, and Matt Huffman and Rob McCauley. Go to the Ohio Christian Alliance website, just search Ohio Christian Alliance, or go to ohioca.org, and right at the top is the big suspend the gas tax. Click on that and then open it up. It's an email that has the clickable areas for Matt Huffman, Rob McCauley, your speaker, your Senate president, your senator, your representative, and message them. Suspend the gas tax of 38.5 cents. Do it now. And be polite. And then, because you can do more with honey than you can with vinegar with these people, but be insistent and just say a little message in there. And they, believe me, they get those messages. And those are pouring in, we believe, because I've been on a number of radio programs and podcasts over the last 10 days, heralding the news, let's suspend the gas tax. You know, my own Republican chairman, Brian Williams of Summit County, said the following. He said, Chris, we need to do this. We need to do it yesterday. He said, what about the gas that I paid for the last 4 months since the war broke out? I've been paying $4+ a gallon. I'm not going to get that money back. Let's give the people a break now. This is a Republican chairman talking. Listen, I talked to the chairman, Alex T. He says, look, I'm in favor of it, but they got to do it over there in the legislature. So Matt Huffman is just playing a two-step dance with you folks. Forget that. Everybody knows that if you do the 38.5 cents and when the money's gone, fine, the gas goes back up with the 38.5 cents. However, what if we find out that there's more excess tax now, then there'll be additional excess tax and that they could extend it. And that's what, to Jonathan's point, they don't want us to know, is that they could extend this for some time. President Trump wants this. He wants it on the national level. But that's why he realizes that, in fact, we had Senator Bernie Moreno call for this. We've had several other national leaders calling for this, and then, of course, state officials. So, no, listen. The treasurer says the money's there. Members in the House and Senate said we can do this, absolutely, and we could do this in a one standalone bill. This would have bipartisan support. I talked to even Democrats who said, yes, if it's a bill that's clean with no other attachments, I would vote for that. So, folks, this has broad bipartisan support. This is a people's bill. This is putting money back in your pocket of that mom and dad who has to do all those errands every day to the guy who's running the diesel truck. And it would bring prices down because everybody would get a break of 38.5 cents a gallon. So then if the prices do come down a little bit, right now, folks, let me remind you, somebody says, well, it came down to, $3.49 today at my gas station. Well, that's still $1 more than it was before the war, folks. I took a picture at the pump when the war just broke out. It was $2.55 a gallon. And think about that. When you're filling up with 17 gallons, with that extra dollar or that extra money, I could be buying lunch. I could be buying other things with it. But no, it's going in the tank and it's going into the state treasury. Stop it already. Give us our money back.
Well, the thing is, when it was $5 a gallon, I know it's down to about $3.85 or something. When it was $5 a gallon, we were getting raked over the coals. Well, now that it's dropped to $3.80, we just ignore it? No, drop it down to $3.40 or something, and let us recoup a little bit more of that money back. It's a great idea. I can't believe the Republicans won't push this through. The Republicans, we have a supermajority in the House, and we have a supermajority in the Senate. And we're supposedly have a Republican governor. Crickets. We don't have a Republican governor. Okay, we don't. But Huffman needs to get on this. Rob McCauley needs to get on this. They need to push this. This is, and wouldn't you agree? I think I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to reiterate. Don't you agree that this is like a golden goose opportunity?
Yes.
For the Republican Party for everybody to just say, man, these guys are great, they are wonderful. They're doing something for the average person, you and me, dropping our gas prices 40 cents or whatever. And they refuse to do it.
I've never seen anything like it. In all my 25 years of public policy work, I've never seen an opportunity that's so golden. People that are actually steaming mad about a lot of things, when I say to them, well, what about suspending the gas tax at 30? They said, hey, that's a great idea. I mean, it is literally a momentum shifter for the Republicans. Joe, you're so right. So if they miss this opportunity, they have no one to blame but themselves. But we'll see what happens here, because in the next 10 days, even after the 4th of July, they may call a special session to come back to override the governor's veto on that elections bill, just to show that they're doing something, because their constitutional amendment of photo ID, which is already in statute, by the way. Okay, so it's already in practice in Ohio. The constitutional amendment will put it in the Constitution. Okay, that's fine. But it doesn't include the provision of a photo ID for mail-in ballots. That was a standalone separate bill. I'm like, why didn't you put that in the language for the constitutional amendment? That would have been something, but no. They always go a half measure and never give us the full loaf. And that's what really steams people. That's where they said these guys aren't for real. And that's like, I'm seeing John here, Plesnick, and of course, Brian, with the real estate tax reform. They had opportunities to do some really aggressive things with real estate tax reform, but they always give you these half-baked measures, and there's no telling, what it will really mean for people in real time with real estate tax reform, since real estate tax assessments have gone up even further.
No, it's crazy. So we got to remind everybody that DeWine is the one who put the kibosh on that House Bill 472, which would they were trying to get that through. It passed the House, it passed the Senate, and he vetoed it. And that would have that was saying you have to show voter ID when you do mail-in balloting.
Yes.
when you do a mail-in balloting. And he said that, it's not it's not necessary. And he said there's no fraud tool involved in the legislation. No fraud tool involved in the legislation. That's a quote from him. Well, the thing is, what the hell do you think showing a picture of yourself is? That's going to cut down on the fraud?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, Joe, we've been doing elections for 25 years with the Ohio Christian Alliance. We do voter registration. We do voter guides. We even did in 2000, after the 2012 elections, because we got so many, that was when Obama was reelected. We had so many nefarious reports that came into our office in real time that we launched a statewide citizens audit of the boards of election to see and find out what actually happened. At the time, it was Secretary of State John Houston. He said, Chris, what's going on? I said, John, we're getting a lot of reports into our office of voter fraud and eyewitness reports. He said, well, please provide me with what you find. We had affidavits. It took us about 10 months to do the statewide citizens audit. We did that as an organization. We provided our findings. That's how we got rid of Golden Week. You'll remember that. It used to be 35 days of open voting. We got it down to 28. We wanted to have more like 14 or 7 days of early voting, but we at least got rid of Golden Week, which was an overlap in voter registration and voting. They were registering and voting on the same day without boards of election being able to vet them. Got rid of that. We pushed for voter photo ID back then in 2013, sir. We were the first group to do that and do it hard and heavy. It only took, 10 years for them to come around to our way of thinking and finally getting in statute. Now in 2026, they would have put it on the ballot. But a photo ID requirement for mail-in ballot would be, for instance, I was relicensing for ministry with an organization, and they wanted my photo ID. Okay, along with a bunch of other things. It's required in so many things. This is not an undue burden. This is a way to safeguard the vote, and they need to come back and override that. And at the same time, they need to suspend the gas tax, giving Ohioans a real tax holiday.
You said it. You said it. Well, hey, Chris, I want to thank you for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend.
You always do a great job. Thank you very
Chris.
much.
Thank you. God bless you,
we'll
gentlemen.
keep in touch. Keep us aware. We're going to keep pushing for that whole gas tax thing and all that because it's just that important. Got to cut the gas. Yeah. Thank you again.
I do have a question, Joe, if I may. Macaulay and Ramaswamy, do they have any influence with our current lawmakers at all? Why can't Macaulay?
Rob Macaulay and
Yeah, so
Ramaswamy.
I put a call into Rob Macaulay, and I said, listen, Rob, you should lead the charge on this. I left him a message, and I said, you should lead the charge on this. You're the Senate president. Get Matt Huffman, get the state treasurer in there and saying, yep, we got the money. We're going to cut the check and give Ohio taxpayers their money back at the pump. And you know what? Crickets. He didn't respond to the call, and that's unfortunate. And then I did message with Vivek Ramaswamy, which he's in support of this. But of course, as you know, he's not an office holder. And I said this would be a great way to do this. And so they are aware of it. And hopefully they're pressuring. The chairman of the party is aware of it. He's in favor of it. He knows that we need a boost going into the midterms, these very difficult midterms. So who knows, folks, if you could keep on messaging your representatives, your state senator, and Matt Huffman and Rob Macaulay, we could just build enough pressure to force them to come back to do something.
All right. We got to try. Got to try.
Thanks
again. Yeah. Thanks again, Chris. God bless.
Thank you. God bless.
Have a good one. We've got to make sure that we win those the midterms. In 2 years, you're going to have something like this coming along here.
Many with no exceptions.
Who wants to be president here?
You know what? Let me say something about this. We're here because we're fighting for a democracy. Fighting for a democracy.
Fighting for a democracy.
And understand the difference here. Understand the difference here. Moving forward. Moving forward. Understand the difference here. What we are looking at is a difference in this election. Let's move forward and see where we are. Because on the issue, for example, of freedom of choice.
Okay, that she could be president before we know it, which is a frightening thought. But
I'm not sure what you said there.
Nobody's
No,
ever
she
sure
just-
what she said. She's word salad
she was
lady.
babbling like crazy. That's all, guys. That was the whole. That was like a viral video when she was just simply just babbling like crazy. What did she say?
Nobody
What did
ever
she
knows
say?
what she
She's
says.
at a rally. This
was-
is just recent. This was
I
like
think she's-
2 weeks ago.
She's almost as bad as Biden. I mean, but remember all those years, Biden just shuffling around and he would mutter stuff that were nonsensical, non-words.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, "What? What in the world is he even saying?" Kamala Harris is comparable. There are words
Jonathan,
that
he
come
was,
out. They're
he
sort
was
of
sharp as a
intelligible
tack,
words.
Jonathan. Yeah,
What's that?
Biden. They
Oh,
said Biden was sharp as a tack, right?
Oh, yeah,
I think that
right.
was the phrase.
Right. Yeah, sharp as a tack. You got it.
Yeah, it was nuts.
It was nuts. There was one other thing. Where'd it go? I wanted to play this for you guys. Well, I don't see it.
Macaulay, I'll tell you, is missing a big bet right now if he doesn't push this.
Oh, it's a golden goose opportunity for the Republican Party, to really make something happen. And
Because he's got a chance to show that they're really worried about the average citizen, be they
Exactly.
Republican, Democrat, or Independent. This is not a Republican issue. This is a average citizen issue, and they need to put the money in the hands of the people. And Macaulay's got a prime position to make that happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong about Vivek Ramaswamy. He's not an office who can't affect things, but he has a big voice because he's running for office and because he's very recognized as the front runner and nominated or endorsed rather by the Ohio Republican Party. So it's not like people are going to ignore him. If he comes out publicly and supports a move like this, I have to say that it's going to have some political power. Not as much as if he were in office, but it has some impact.
I got to play this.
agree.
I got to play this. This is like right along lines
showdown.
here,
They
guys.
claim to be friends, but many expect a gloves-off brawl.
So you got
should the two
Newsome
decide to run for
and
president.
Kamala.
But the Democrats'
And
dark
somebody else.
night might crack Gavin and Kamala's party.
Only way
Well-
that you get to true gratitude
Oh, that guy.
is to be grateful
Hunter.
for all of it.
He wants to be prez.
No,
I'm grateful that I was a crack addict, and I don't say that with even the slightest bit of irony or I get to approach you, and you get to see all of me. I've just broken down every barrier that you could possibly have to find a connection with me. That's beautiful.
So,
It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
the connection
Oh, yeah.
I wanted
Here's
to
the
see
funniest
is
part of all.
just
Listen
go
to
behind
this.
no
bars.
notes. You have to. You can only pick A, B, or C: Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, or Hunter Biden.
I just think that's
well,
hilarious.
but wait a
and
minute
it's so
though.
funny.
So somebody put up a comment that they're that Gavin Newscomb, I call him Newscomb, that Gavin Newscomb is comparable to the word salad and he's not articulate. I disagree. He's actually, I don't like him. I mean, he's outrageously far left. I mean, he's social communist or however they're defining themselves these days. I'm not saying the following to encourage a vote for this man in any way, shape, or form, but of that ilk, that class in the Democrat Party, what used to be the Democrat Party, now it's the Communist Party, of them, Gavin Newsom actually is fairly well spoken and articulate, and he's good on a teleprompter. So for those reasons, I think he is more frightening and should be.
All right. I tell you what we're going to do here. We're going to move on to another topic. Before we do that, real quick, Ken, go ahead and give a spiel for the show, okay? T-shirts and all that.
Yeah, first off, go to ohiopoliticalnews.com. You can also go to ohiopoliticalnews.com/shop to get your Freedom 250 shirts and other merchandise that we have on the site. Also, make sure wherever you're at to like this, to share the wherever you're watching, Rumble, YouTube. If you're on YouTube, keep running whatever videos that you're watching after this keep it going so YouTube sees that, the engagement. Also, you can also do, make sure to look at being a part of us, part of Ohio Political News by supporting us. Down in on Rumble, you can do locals, and it's a cost of a coffee a month. So make sure to take that initiative to support us. Also on YouTube, you can go do a super chat. Also become a member on YouTube. And we're noticing a lot of people are watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. That really helps. And also watch the ads. I know the ads are popping up on YouTube. We appreciate that now that YouTube is doing that for us. And keep it running. It does help us to build the platform because we want to grow this. And keep watching. There's playlists. You can keep watching. Like I mentioned last week, when you're at work and you might be running some TV show for the pets, run Ohio Political News on a loop for YouTube. We appreciate that. And also become a member. It's only $4.99 for the one membership, and then you can also do 2 months worth for about $9.99. It's only 2 coffees, whatever you can do for a month. Please support us. That's how we can keep going if with your support. So please support us. Become a member on any platform that you can. Also on Facebook, there's stars if you want to send that. We appreciate that too. But just keep watching. I know, Joe, you have a couple things going on this week with property taxes and that we're going to be live streaming.
Yeah, that's a good. That's a good
Joe,
segue. We're going to get into all that.
Can you segue over to me?
Okay,
Kent,
there's
what do
the
you
shirt.
think?
Yeah, that's
the shirt.
Yeah, Freedom 250. There you are. Abolish property taxes. Can you jump up and down a little bit so we can see the whole shirt? Can you stand on that chair? So. But don't fall over. Okay.
I just want everybody to see the shirt. They're great shirts.
Yeah, that is
a good looking shirt.
Yeah, that is a good shirt. Freedom 250. That's an awesome shirt. So, all right, we're going to get into the whole thing with the property taxes and all that. I want to do that. I got to get some of our other partners in crime going here real quick. Let's get these guys on board too. The commissioners with us, John Poleshnik, Lake County Commissioner. Good to see you. Good to see you. John, good to see you. Also, we have Hillary Jackson with the AFP hat, but I got Moms for Liberty, and you also do Ohio Political News. So you're going to have to wear our T-shirt, you're going to have to wear the AFP hat, and you're going to have to do Moms for Liberty badge or something. How are you tonight?
Well, and Heritage Foundation too. So I guess since we're talking about all the different hats and badges and T-shirts. I am your new state director for the Heritage Foundation based out of Washington, D.C. So we got a lot of work to do.
Wow.
Oh,
Wait. Don't just say that in passing here. We got to get a little. So what exactly is this new position now? Fill us in.
Well, I will be doing 4 states. So I'll be doing Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, and Kentucky. So, of course, the grassroots efforts there, letting people know what Heritage does, what our mission is. And, of course, the legislative efforts. For a while, Heritage has been focusing mainly on, the federal legislative efforts. But because they are growing due to, obviously incredible donors, we're able to not switch, but continue our efforts at statewide level. So I'm excited to see what we're gonna tackle come this fall. But we got a lot of work to do, and I have a lot of really good organizations like Heritage, Moms for Liberty, AFP that are really taking a lot of energy towards our grassroots efforts. So.
No,
and don't forget Royally Schooled.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yes. And Royally Schooled.
Royally Schooled. Go find Royally Schooled on YouTube. You're on YouTube and Rumble, right?
YouTube, Rumble, Facebook. Yes. Now that I have my Facebook back, but we'll save that story for another day.
All right, listening audience, go and find Hillary Jackson and Annie Payne, Royally Schooled. They've got a podcast that just launched recently. It's a rising star, up-and-coming podcast that they're doing. Go follow them, click that like button. You know the drill. Find Royally Schooled.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thank you.
All right, I want to play something from you, Hillary, and I'm going to get everybody involved, and John Pleshnik and everybody. We're going to get into the property taxes and the schools and all that stuff. So let me just start by playing this clip here. Let's run this clip.
Hi, this is Hillary with Ohio Political News, and today I am outside of the Lake County Administration Building. What we're going to do is you guys are just going to follow me, and we're going to see what's going on. And
kids go to Kirtland, but I understand that all of the schools in Lake County have been very much affected by loss in funding, both from the state and
all been affected by a loss in funding.
Millions,
a loss
Joe.
in funding. So let me play this here. We're going to come back and discuss this. I want to get a couple of talking points so that
from these tax cuts to the county. So Kirtland lost about $422,000.
So she's saying they lost $422,000.
Mm-hmm.
For 1 year. School had to lay off 4 teachers, a library aide. They had to increase pay to play.
if you ask the state, they're going to tell you we did not cut funding. What happens is that you guys are losing students.
Now, you gave some good responses. I don't want to play the whole tape. We'll come back to this tape here in just a minute. Let me just get a little bit of discussion going. John, you guys were out there. You're one of the commissioners. You were out there. What Hillary was talking to some of the people out there. This was last week, and there was supposed to fill us in. What exactly was that meeting all about as far as affecting the property taxes?
Short version of the story, last year in the budget bill, HB 96, the state legislature gave the power to every county to double the homestead exemption and double the owner occupancy credit beyond what's already there. So it would take the average benefit from the homestead exemption from about $500 to about $1,000 per senior. It would take the 2.5% rollback for homeowners and double it to 5% on the owner occupancy credit. But the catch is that it's not backfilled by the state, and so it actually cuts taxes, and that it not only cuts the taxes you pay, it cuts the taxes that all the schools, cities, counties would take in themselves. And as you can expect, big government pushes back when they're told they're going to have to do with a little bit less. We ran the numbers in Lake County, and by passing both of those piggybacks last year, we cut the average taxing authority's budget by 1.5%. And as I said to the news, if you can't cut your budget by 1.5% in function, you don't know the meaning of the word budget. But unfortunately, as more and more school levies are going down, as more and more levies in general are going down, we're seeing taxing authorities trying to find any way to get unvoted increases that they can, because the people are telling them hard no, hell no. And so now they're coming back to county commissioners who passed these tax cuts like myself and trying to pressure us to give them the money back. At the vote, I voted to renew the homestead exemption. I made the motion to renew the doubling of the owner occupancy credit. Unfortunately, my motion wasn't seconded, so we only renewed the homestead exemption in Lake County. It still puts us in a small club. Only a little more than a dozen counties have passed one, the other, or both. But it just shows the enormous pressure that big government, bureaucrats, school districts are putting on county commissioners across the state. A lot of good conservative commissioners I know who just didn't quite have the courage to pass these piggybacks. A lot of excuses made. I have the highest respect for my colleagues across the state and in Lake County. But the long and short of it, Joe, is that school districts in particular, but government in general, put pressure on commissioners, and not a lot of them had the gumption to stand up and cut taxes.
How much, can you give us any kind of numbers on that, though? How much is this saving a taxpayer, and who does this exactly affect? Who's getting that rebate and how much?
Once again, the homestead exemption is for low-income seniors, which is defined as a household income of $41,000 or less. So, relatively low. I mean, we're talking almost poor. if not poor, depending on your definition of the word. We're talking people who are truly in need. And the average benefit, and it varies depending on home value, but the average benefit to a low-income senior is $500 additional. So it essentially took it from about a $500 to about $1,000 credit is what it did. And the owner occupancy credit, once again, it depends on the value of your home. It's a 2.5% rollback of the taxes that you pay on it. But some have calculated the average benefit at about $100, $150 per person per year. So we're not talking about something that would solve the property tax crisis, but every little bit helps. And
okay, so somebody who got
somebody
who got a $500. So the schools basically are saying we don't want the senior citizens to get another $500 tax break. We need every penny, huh? Is that what they were saying?
Well, and I have a whole spreadsheet, you guys, that I've been making these past few days that I would love to be able to share with you, because John is exactly right. The commissioners are getting pressure. But the problem is that the pressure that they're getting is coming from misinformation and blatant lies. And we saw that with that clip that, if you go back and watch the full clip, that the mother, she feels like she needed to, spend her day out there protesting to save her child's school because the state has cut millions of dollars of funding. That is simply not true. And where she's getting this information from is, of course, from the school board and things like that, where they are just fear-mongering and putting out misinformation. She also stated that the schools, the private schools, are getting more money per student than the public schools are, and that is just another blatant lie. So what I would like to do, very briefly, just to show you the ridiculousness of this argument, but also the ridiculousness of the schools, for one, being, for a lack of a better term, greedy, wanting every penny, because it's not necessary. So very, very, very briefly, you guys, I'll go ahead and share this. Joe, if you wouldn't mind, let me know if you guys can see this graph.
Yeah, oh, there we go. We can see it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So basically what I wanted to show you guys is very, very briefly what for the Lake County, what the funding has been for the past, since 2023. So let's take Mentor, for example. The schools have been getting actually more funding per year from the state. So for these parents to think that they are getting cut millions of dollars for, I think she said something crazy like what, 4 million or something, really off the wall. That's not true. The state is giving these districts more and more money per year. The local revenue, that's going to be obviously your property taxes, which we can see in Lake County is, it's kind of 50-50, which, is very high, because Lake County is able to do that because obviously it's just a wealthier area. And then of course, this is pretty typical across the board as far as federal. But what I want you guys to focus on here, and I will send you this graph, Joe, for you guys to put up. I want you guys to look at this number here, the per student. So in Mentor School District, the total revenue per student is $18,013. But look, the total operating expenditures per student is only 17. So these guys, they're not running on a deficit. They are not spending more money than they require per student. So what is the purpose of the levies? What is the purpose of not, providing our elderly, the opportunity to be able to live and to afford and, to stay in their homes? And this is across, like I said, I'll post this later, but if you guys single in Lake County, and that's just, it comes down to, honestly, it just comes down to greed. This has nothing to do with, with our elderly. This has nothing to do with our schools being in need. This has nothing to do with, protecting teachers, and, protecting the, the ability of our schools to teach. This is pure
Just a lot
greed.
Of greed. Yeah.
A lot of greed and protecting the bloat. And, if you were to, actually see where that bloat is coming from, and we talk about that a lot in at Royally Schooled, what that bloat is and where
Well,
it's
let's
coming
talk about
from.
some of that right here. Let me play a little bit
You
more of
don't
this
need
one
the
here.
funding for students you don't have.
Responsible. They have not operated on a deficit for years. I mean, over a decade.
Now, I got to tell you something. I don't think that this was just some random mom. I think she's probably part of the school teachers union or something.
Which now they will have to, and so I believe starting next year we'll actually be running on a deficit. The state did pull funding, and so you're probably familiar with the voucher program that is entirely problematic. It's been ruled as unconstitutional, and the biggest issue there, in my opinion, is that the private schools per student are getting more money per student than the public schools are. So, if tax dollars follow the student because that's where they're being educated, that makes sense. But they should not be getting more money per student than what the public schools are getting.
All right, hey, Brian, let me bring you in here for a second because, you're a property tax expert and all that kind of thing. But anyhow, first of all, watching this, I don't think that woman is just some average everyday mom because she knows too much. Secondly,
I can tell you, Joe, she wasn't. I knew who Regina was the moment I walked up, but she didn't know who I was. So that's where you just got to, you got to know your people, and that's part of the job as a freelance on the field journalist.
Right, and I appreciate all you do, and you do a great job with that too. All right, so how would you answer some of these questions, Brian? They don't have the money, they had to lay off teachers because the vouchers and all this other BS. I mean, any thoughts?
Yeah, I go back to Commissioner Plechnik's two words: cut spending. I was there at the meeting in Lake County when the Commissioner Plechnik made a motion on the owner occupancy credit, and neither Morris Beveridge nor Commissioner Morgan McIntosh would give him a second, so therefore they didn't have to vote, and that provided, I think, what Beveridge and McIntosh thought was some sort of cover. But they basically it's about $7 million. I checked with the auditor. The owner occupancy credit for next year will be about $7 million, and that's Auditor Galloway telling me that. Before the meeting, I saw Riverside Superintendent Chris Fertino and their treasurer, Dr. Steve Thompson. They were both there. So I asked them after I sent an email asking them, well, what does that owner occupancy credit mean to you, Riverside School District? And they said that they will receive approximately $660,000 more a year because the money is not going to the people, it is going to the school district. And this is on top of, now they get $660,000 and they're still going to put a 1%.
Why not round that up to $666,000 just to show where it's coming from? Why not 666?
We could go with that, but I was also I asked them, they're going to put a 1% earned income tax levy on the ballot, and I said, well, how much is that going to produce? And that will, if it's passed, they will produce $13.7 million a year, and they're looking to build a brand new school for about $120 million. And I said, well, if it wasn't an earned income, if it was a property tax, how many mills would you need to generate that $13.7 million? And he said 7.89, I believe. So around 7.9 mills, which is a huge property tax levy. And they now want to try to get through that earned income tax. The schools are out of control. I think we all know that. And then when you take a look at proficiency scores, it makes no sense to keep on the same path that we're on. Makes no sense at all. You wouldn't do it in the private sector if you're spending this kind of money and not producing results. So schools are really sort of the bane of our existence here in Lake County and in the state of Ohio.
Let me just play a little bit more of this clip here for a second.
Do you know how much money your school is getting per student?
It's, I believe, about $3,200.
So it's actually $32,000 per student. Private schools are only getting $8,000 per student, so that statement is not correct.
So again, there are other issues with the money going to the private schools, considering that does not have the same accountability or transparency the public schools have, auditing and all of that.
So my question, I guess, that I would love to ask your superintendent is that we're seeing a lot of issues as far as the administration not willing to, to make cuts at the administration level. So that is like for Mentor, for example, they get 28% fully taxpayer funded retirement plans. So that's kind of like unheard of, especially in, private sector. Usually there's like a 401k match, but to have straight 28% go towards retirement, and not being willing to touch that, but yet making cuts like pay to play, that seems a little unfair.
My understanding is that they're looking at all across the board. In terms of retirement accounts, government, including the federal government, there are benefits to being a public servant and having that type of job. So,
yeah, I mean, you brought up a good point there, that 28% for the pensions and all that crap. I mean, we got to get this word out about all of this stuff because the amount of money that goes to these school systems is crazy. But, yeah, so she did not have a good answer for that. She did not have a good answer for that. But that is a really good point to bring up.
That's what I'm saying.
14%.
Watch Royally Schooled. We break it down. And thank God for Annie, honestly, not being on the school board anymore because she's able to talk about these things. A lot of these people that serve their time on the school board, they get scared to death. And then, they go off and hide, in a corner somewhere, and then you never hear from them. But Annie is so brave and willing to talk about all of these things. So we really break down where that bloat is coming from. And in the case of Mentor, that 28%, retirement plan is ungodly. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, you guys. I mean, and that's just one school district. If you watch my show, and then you guys will be even more sick to your stomach. So take a Pepto-Bismol. And but I mean, obviously, like when it comes to, when I said 32,000, I just want to make it very clear. I was being facetious because she was saying it's 3,200. No, you're getting thousands of dollars per student. And some of them, I think one of the schools in Geauga County, I think goes up to like 31,000 per student. So it gets up there. The school districts aren't hurting. It's the greed that pads their pockets.
No, it's
that's
the
all
absolute
this is.
greed. 30. Yeah, some school districts, 32,000, 25,000. I think here in Cleveland Heights, it's about 25,000 per student, and their rating was just above one small notch above Cleveland. Cleveland Heights rating was horrible. All right. So who wants to jump in and keep this conversation going?
I'm next.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, yeah.
So to start off, you ventured in. So we were talking before the show about sports, and some years ago I stopped watching sports. Apparently, this is what I do instead. I've not been paying any attention to Cavs, Indians, or Browns, but I do pay a lot of attention to exactly what we're talking about here. Lake County, in most recent calculations I did, spent just over $550 million in 1 year on the combined school districts, and the 31,000 that's Wycliffe 2 years ago. Hillary, I think we're going to need to double check and reconcile. I'm not sure the source of your numbers, but I will do something. I'm going to follow suit and do a little share here myself. This is actually Ohio Department of Education workforce. And this goes to answer a question that somebody posted about Lucas County. Lucas County, if you want to know what your school district is spending, here it is. I've pulled up Wycliffe City Schools, so I see a little bit of a difference here. Hillary was showing around 13,000 spent in 24-25 by Wycliffe Schools. Total all in that I see, according to Ohio Department of Education for 24-25, is 24,067. Same thing with Mentor Schools. Mentor Schools, you showed a little bit lower number in 17,000 range. I show a little over 18,000. One thing to
my numbers came from the CUP report. So it's a little bit of a different report than this one, but because mine breaks it down and obviously like things that are from like the state specific or like federally, like taxpayer funded money specifically.
Yep.
Your report does do a deeper dive, which even shows even more.
It shows a lot, and actually, so this has come up a couple of times in our conversations. This is something that's come up, and when Brian and I do assessments, because Brian tends to use the CUP report, and I tend to use this one. Both of them are bleak. Both of them are bad. Both of them highlight dramatic overspending. When you get into, and I can toggle this, it was the year prior, 23-24 was Wycliffe Schools. It was, hold on one second here, it's updating, 31,000, actually, sorry, that's combined multiple years, $30,476. So just over $30,000 per student. The thing I like about this one, and this is a recommendation, if you're in our listening audience, Lucas County or otherwise, familiarize yourself with the CUP report and with this tool. It's super readily available. I actually use it so often I have as a shortcut on my smartphone. These are the kinds of things that allow us to drill down and call BS. When you get into conversations like that woman who wants to say that schools are underfunded, that they need to cut spending, this breaks it all down for us. It shows us in no uncertain terms where all the money is going. When you have school districts with a combined, this is Lake County, 1 out of 88. When you have a county-wide school budget of $550 million, that's what they spent, we have a major problem. By the way, Wycliffe, for the school year, they peaked out above 30,000, reported proficiency, and I'm air quoting that because we've softened our proficiency in Ohio a couple of times. According to Ohio's proficiency standards, that school district peaked out at just over 50% academic proficiency. These are major issues that we need to be using, of course, to try and get better education to children. But also, these fit very well in the abolish property taxes conversation, because when school districts, when a county like Lake, and you can do the same thing for Geauga and absolutely Cuyahoga and Butler and Lucas, you name it, go district by district, county by county, and use this to argue to abolish property taxes.
John, I want to bring you in here also because one of the things that lady said on that clip was that they had to lay off a few teachers and some assistant librarian or some other crap, and then they had to cut into the pay to play. They had to increase that, but that's all just smoke and mirrors. I mean, they can't be. What they lose? How much money did they lose? You said $600,000, possibly at the most.
So Joe, I want to speak in some broad brush strokes because it's wonderful for those of us like Jonathan or Hillary who love to drill down the stats. They want to know exactly how much is spent in this and that and this bucket. But the average taxpayer wants to understand the big picture. And here's the big picture. The average school district in Lake County has their highest budget and their highest revenue in history. The average school district in Lake County is spending more per student than ever before. But enrollment has been going down. And so the reason why it's doubly unreasonable to suggest that schools are somehow in a budgetary constraint or that they're being choked financially is that not only do they have more money than ever before, they have less students. And one would reasonably expect that as student enrollment goes up, spending would go up to match it. And if student enrollment were to go down, expenses would likewise go down. That's how every private school is forced to operate. That's how universities operate, even public universities. If enrollment goes down, then revenue and tuition go down, then ultimately the school is forced to spend less or even to close if there is so few numbers. But the idea that public schools can operate completely immunized to reality and that they can have a student population of half what they did 20 years ago but spend twice as much, that's the reality we're living in. We've got plenty of schools that have half the enrollment, twice the spending as they did 20 years ago. And we just can't sustain that. That's number one, Joe. Number two, when they talk about these multi-million dollar cuts, let me tell you what they're actually saying. Let me tell you how they're justifying it. They're not actually seeing a cut to their bottom line budget. In fact, their budget's going up. It's just that they projected that their budget is going to go up by $10 million. And then the state legislature acts to reduce inflationary increases, so their budget now will only go up $5 million. And based on that logic, that in future years, their budget will go up slower than it would before. They're saying my budget was cut by millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And we need to understand that the multi-million-dollar cuts are really talking about reductions in future increases. And this is exactly the same reason why Brian Massey and I have said that the reforms from the state legislature are, quote, too little too late, because they don't really cut our taxes. They just reduce future increases so our taxes go up slower. 5 years from now, our taxes are still going to be higher. The schools are still going to have more under current law. They're just not going to get as much as they would have without those reforms. And so this is Democrat speak, that somehow reducing a future increase, they're still getting more. They construe it as a cut, which it is absolutely not.
Joe, if I can chime in, part of the issue I see is in they don't do zero-based budgeting. They do what they call incremental budgeting, and that is they start with their the amount of money that they're spend in this year, and then they'll add to it, as opposed to zero-based budgeting, which means I've got to justify from the very first dollar that I'm going to spend. That is not in the schools, and also really not in other taxing authorities, certainly through Lake County. It's all incremental budgeting.
So, Brian, let me ask you this then. Going along those lines, because they're getting more money now than ever, as John had said. The budget is bigger now than ever. Now, they didn't get the $600,000 or whatever, so now they're laying teachers off. That's all smoke and mirrors, right? That's just them playing a game. It's got to be. They've got more money now than they've ever had. Ever.
Called the Washington Monument Syndrome.
What's that, Hillary?
The Washington Monument Syndrome. And I posted this out there, and everybody thought I was wearing a tinfoil hat and talking all this craziness. But it's when, instead of taking a hard look in the mirror and doing what any other entity does, like a school needs to operate like a business, right? They're not a charity. When things aren't adding up, you do an internal audit, right? You don't turn around and ask your stakeholders for more money when they're not seeing a return on their investment. So what they do is they play on the emotions of people. And there's a whole book and a training about it. It's called the Washington Monument Syndrome. There's a backstory, but that's basically what happens is when they appeal to the emotions of taxpayers as a manipulation tactic to scare the crap out of them, saying, if you don't do this, this is what we're going to do. And that's a lot of the reasons why you see they're going to threaten. The first thing is busing. Okay, busing is always,
because it affects everybody. Yeah,
exactly. Busing. Parma tried to say right after they had a gun and a shooting in one of their high schools, the first thing that they did when the levy didn't get passed, a couple of weeks after that happened, is he said, well, now all the safety things that we were going to do, we're not going to have anymore. We're not going to be able to do that since you guys didn't vote for the levy. And I was able to say, I told y'all that this is what they were going to do. But it just goes to show you, especially with the numbers on the CUP report and the reports that Jonathan were showing, that they are not, they are receiving more money than they are spending. So there is absolutely no reason to cut busing. There's no reason to appeal to the emotions of your taxpayers and to manipulate them. It's dishonest.
There's no reason to do that. I hear you, but it's
akin
working.
to a hostage situation.
It's working.
It is.
Now here's the thing. Here, I do want to get Brian on here for a second, because you guys have a tax clinic, property tax event coming up, but it works. It works that they pass this jive on to us. Hey, no more busing. We don't have the money. Oh, we got to get rid of some assistant librarian. We don't have any more money. Oh, we might have to lay off a few of these sub teachers or something. You got it more. You got to pay more if you want to play sports. But this is a racket that they're doing.
But Joe, I want to question one thing that you said. I'm not sure it works anymore. I was really heartened at our commissioners meeting to see that more people came out to protest the protesters. than came to say raise taxes. I really think that the kind of AstroTurf protest you saw where the school superintendents showed up with teachers and employees, I mean, those aren't tax-paying citizens saying this is the way I want my government run. That's just one government entity lobbying another, which shouldn't happen in the first place. We're literally paying one government to lobby another government to get more money from you. How does that make any sense? But what's heartening to me is that in the old days, you'd have an army of these people come out and all the politicians would wring their hands and cry and fall over in fear. And there were more people who came out to protest them and say, don't you dare raise my taxes. That was heartening to see. And part of the reason why you're seeing school districts go at counties so hard for these unvoted increases to take back the homestead exemption, to take back the owner occupancy credit, is because they can't pass these levies anymore.
Exactly.
They're looking at the numbers and the levies ain't going through. They wouldn't be fighting over that $440,000 in Kirtland if Kirtland could pass a levy. They wouldn't be fighting for that $2 million, which is a pittance of the Mentor School Board's over $100 million budget, if they thought they could pass their levy this coming November. They know the odds are against them because voters are wising up and they're saying, wait a second, you're spending more per kid than you ever have before, and Sammy and Sarah can't read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So that's good news. But if they pass that city tax, that whatever it is, 1.5% or some other god-awful number, that's going to kill the common person, the property. You were saying it'd be almost like an $8 million property tax increase. They cannot. In one thing here, we talk about this all the time. We've got to get the legislature, and we have to stop this. It just can't be us talking amongst ourselves for all. We got to.
Well, it's because
people
we're not
got to wake up and stop
people.
it. Stop the taxes. Stop the taxes.
We're not putting the heat on the right people. I mean, we all need to be. At the end of the day, of course, everybody wants their schools to be properly funded. Okay, nobody likes higher taxes. So, but we're putting the pressure and the focus on the local level when at the end of the day, you know what's unconstitutional? The fact that we're using property taxes to fund our schools to begin with. We need to put the pressure and the focus back to the state. This is the state's problem. And as long as we keep up with the same song and dance that where we
I agree with you.
But the local people, you have the power to do that. You guys can get together.
They have the power, but Hillary, I understand you. But Brian, everybody has the power, but it ain't happening with some.
There's another thing that you should be aware of. I've mentioned this before, but Auditor Galloway at the Lake County Commissioners meeting, he mentioned it, that the Budget Commission have been given new authorities by the state, and that is to take a look at a tax budget of a taxing authority, not only the schools, but any other taxing authority in the county. And if there is an accumulation of cash that the Budget Commission deems that it is inappropriate, that Budget Commission has the authority to lower the property tax. Now, that is all, well and good, but as I said at the meeting, I will believe it when I see it, when a Budget Commission can tell a school and or another taxing authority, we're going to lower your property taxes. They'd probably be sued left and right, by the taxing authority. And I mentioned the crime lab, right, in Lake County. Crime lab, they have $10 million. They're earning 1.6 more than they need. So I would like to see the Lake County Budget Commission, who has one of the three members is Charles Colson, who's the prosecutor, who's in charge of the crime lab. I'd like to see them reduce the property taxes for the crime lab. It's not going to happen, and it's going to take a lot of a spine by the politicians on the Budget Commission to reduce those property taxes. But the amount of cash, I think the number I heard was the cash balances for all of the 611 school districts is something like $10 billion. I don't know the individual school balances, but that's a lot of money. But there's other taxing authorities that are accumulating more money than they need to operate. And that, again, I keep saying that money needs to be in the hands of the people, and the only one that can do it right now are the budget commissions, and let's see if they can do their job. I doubt it, but that's their role.
There's an analogy I want to throw in there.
Following on that point, I would love to see Lake County Budget Commission cut property taxes in a significant way, but do I think that the combination of the prosecutor, treasurer, and auditor are going to be bold enough to enact real property tax reform at the county level? I have my doubts. And I don't say this to critique any of the three of the office holders, but do I think that the three of them collectively, or even two of them, have the gumption to take the heat from the school boards that the commissioners just did? As we talked about taking a few $100,000 away from each of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine. I can only imagine the pressure that they would put on the prosecutor, the treasurer, and the auditor. And frankly, I don't think that we want tax-paying citizens to be at the mercy of whether they have county officials that have, that have iron wills. At the end of the day, the law should be fair statewide. And you shouldn't be screwed just because you happen to have a treasurer or an auditor without any gumption. The reality is, if we're going to have meaningful reform, it has to be done at the state level. And we've already talked about how there's very little appetite for the state reps and senators to give away their fountain of unlimited money. And so there really comes back to only one solution for us to collectively force that kind of statewide reform. There's really only one tool we have to put that kind of pressure on the state legislature. And I don't think that I'm talking out of school here when I say that it's the amendment to abolish property taxes that has driven all of the discussions on reform. There wouldn't have been any legislation passed without it. And the only reason that the conversation continues and that we're being promised more reform is because they're frankly afraid that if this measure reaches the ballot, they can't stop it. I mean, polling shows 65+% of Ohioans support this measure. They don't know what to do with it, because what kind of an ad campaign can you run to attack the taxpayer? We're going to see ads saying that we're greedy because we don't want to pay for, full retirement pensions for superintendents making $250,000 a year. I mean, I don't know how those ads are going to sell. I really don't know how you're going to tell the average Jane and Joe taxpayer, you are greedy because you refuse to give us all your money. I think they know this measure hits the ballot, they're done. And that is the only way we can collectively put pressure on Columbus, is to sign the petition to abolish property taxes.
Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Hey,
Joe,
quick,
we can't. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'll bring it right back to you. But one thing I want to say, there is Tuesday night. We're going to be live streaming this event Tuesday night. So, today's Sunday night. So Tuesday night. So
Joe, what event?
This is the Strongsville GOP. They are putting on a free event at the Strongsville Recreation Center, Ohio's Property Tax Crossroads. That's the name of it. Relief, Reform, and Repeal. But basically, it is a town hall meeting on property taxes. Property taxes. And who do they have as the speakers? They have Brian Massey, founder of Axe Ohio Tax.
What's that? I'm kidding.
They have John Poleshnik, Lake County Commissioner. And then Greg Lawson, Buckeye Institute, and David Thomas, that's state rep. But you guys are going to be out there. We are going to be live streaming that event with two cameras. I'm not just using one. All right.
We're going upscale.
Well, let's do this. Go ahead. Let's go quickly around the horn, and we'll call it a night. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, that's great. We're Commissioner Pletcher and I are looking forward to getting the message out to the people, once again, and we're still very positive about the whole movement, and it's going to be interesting to hear what Representative David Thomas, has to say. He's the one that. I can say that Representative Thomas is probably one of maybe half a dozen in the legislature that really understands property taxes. Most of them do not understand inside, outside millage, House Bill 920 and 20 mil floor. They just don't. And the Greg Lawson from Ohio Buckeye Institute, we talked to him, probably about 2 years ago. He really wasn't, supporting the abolish of the property taxes, but he was one that felt that there needs to be consolidation of taxing authorities. We've got way too many taxing authorities at the local level. So we're looking forward to that. And I'll just give you a heads up, Joe. John Maher and I are talking about something different. We're thinking about calling out the governor, Rob McCauley, and also Matt Huffman. We're going to challenge them to a debate. And we'll let you know when that happens.
Yeah, keep us in the loop on that. Keep us in the loop. That is awesome. That is awesome.
I would pay to see that. That sounds spectacular. Let me know when that debate's taking place. So we all know, and I've seen some comments here on Rumble, we know the game. With these agencies get in way more money than they need, and the race is because they don't do zero-based accounting, what they do is just race to spend it on whatever. They new cars
100%.
for people and new lighting, and it's endless. There's an endless parade of stuff that they can spend money on in places like school districts that has nothing to do with education to blow through the budget so that next year they can justify the increase that's coming in the next year. And by way of analogy, this is a representative example, and hopefully this makes sense, but I just went through years of exhaustive analysis of the behaviors of companies on Wall Street. And there was so much money through really terrible, treacherous things that was done with some of the Wall Street-based companies. They got so much money. Some of these publicly traded companies, they didn't know what to do with it, and they got really creative and were just showering money in all kinds of directions because they were so vastly overfunded. They finally got to the point that the most recent reported stats show that some of the executive compensation averaged $16.7 million for 1 year. It's like, hey, here you go, chairman. Here you go, CEO. Here's $16.7 million. They're just shoveling it. They had so much money, they were running out of creativity and where to shovel money into. We have some agencies, unfortunately, that operate on that same premise. The so-and-so needs new cars, even though the whole fleet is all brand new 2 years ago, but now they need the latest updated SUVs and whatever. It's ridiculous and awful. By the way, this is a little side note. I'm going to make a book recommendation. Your friend and mine, Khalid Namar. Khalid's cousin, K. Carl Smith, has released this book. I just started it. It's really super cool. This is as if Frederick Douglass and Karl Marx were to debate, because they were actually born in the same year. It's a great book. It's written as an educational tool. I plan on reading it and bringing it into as many school conversations as possible. If you take my advice and pick up a copy of this book and read it, find me on social media and let's engage in some conversation. I'm loving it so far.
Awesome. Thank you.
Joe, if I could come back and after Commissioner Plechnik, I'd like to answer the listeners' email or chat. I do have an answer to that.
Go ahead and answer it. What was
okay.
it? I don't even know what it was.
Yeah, they basically said that all public officials or the taxing authorities, they should have their salaries and their financial information should be made public. I can tell everyone that here in Lake County, Morley Library, I asked for the financial statements, 3 years worth of financial statements. I found out that they had $14 million in cash and their investment income was $626,000 a year. No thought of reducing their property taxes. I've asked Auditor Galloway for the Budget Commission to take a look at that, and let's see what the Budget Commission does. The other thing that I was doing is I went to the Mentor Senior Center. I wanted to ask them for permission to talk to all of their members so I can educate their members, which are all seniors, of course, about the problems with property taxes. And they said, no, we don't let you, we're book solid, for all of our speaking engagements. Then I said, well, I'd like to collect signatures for the amendment to abolish property taxes. And they said, I'm sorry, we don't let anybody solicit our members. So I then said to them, well, we're going to have to ratchet this up a notch. So what I did is I went home and I sent them an email. I'm asking for 3 years worth of financial statements, and I want to see the compensation of all of the employees of the Mentor Senior Center, and I will make that public on Lobbyists for Citizens. So we are doing that, exactly what the listener was asking about. We're doing that in Lake County, and because I believe honesty, integrity, and transparency are the keys to good governance, and we'll do that. We'll promote that by exposing the lies, the deceptions, and the betrayals.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. God bless your efforts. Go ahead, John.
These truths we find to be self-evident: that politicians are the devil, government never saw a dollar it didn't want to spend, and the property taxes are too damn high. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen to that. All right, Hillary, I'll give you the last word tonight. And thanks again. So you are now the state director for the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's still one of those like pinch me moments, but yeah, pretty cool. But yes, so somebody did, just so that, full transparency, nobody's trying to play gotcha. Somebody did mention that there was a typo on one of the numbers for enrollment. So I will go in and I'll fix that on the report that I made. Obviously, it's a huge report, that I had to go in there and like manually type in every single number. And I am a human, not a robot. So of course I fat fingered a number. So I will fix it. Okay, everything's fine, ladies. Take a deep breath. It still doesn't change the fact that our schools are not spending as much as they're getting, and they're using that money to pad their own pockets in these god awful. I mean, we have superintendents making just ungodly amounts of money. We have treasurers making ungodly amounts of money, and they don't even know what Robert's rules are. So it's just one of those things, you guys. Like, there's no amount of sense that any of this will make. So give it up. Do the research yourself if you don't like my spreadsheets, Karen, and get on the right side of this, because like John said before, people are starting to realize it. So, these public schools, shape up, or else your enrollment is going to continue to decline.
Yeah, shape up or ship out. That's all I got to say. Wow. Hey, it was a great show tonight, guys. I want to show you guys one thing here, if I can find it. Where is it? Somebody say something. Something.
Take me off your screen, because I look terrible.
Where the heck? Who cares? If I can't find it, that means it wasn't meant to be. That's all I can say. All right, guys. Hey, everybody, take care. Have a good one. This is a Sunday night.
Thanks, Hillary.
Take care.
See you
later.
Bye, Joe. Bye, guys. Bye, Jonathan. Bye, John.